Welcome back to another episode of AFL by Jellyman here on Wednesday, the 10th of May. Looking back at round 8 and looking forward to round 9. First of all, this was not being punched in the face for those watching on YouTube. This was a knee right across the snoz, which has caused a bit of a black eye, a bit of a cut nose, but that is what it is, and that's football. Jumping straight into the more important stuff. So AFL round 8 review. Our round 8 picks, then standings update, round 9 preview, and round 9 best bets for the AFL this upcoming weekend. But taking a look back at round 8, so last Friday, Carlton losing to Brisbane at Marvel, 74-100. Brisbane a couple of laid outs, which obviously led them to be not favourite in this one, so underdogs. Carlton this season, as we mentioned in our overview and our analysis with picking Brisbane, they haven't really beaten anyone as of yet. I mean, they drew to Richmond round 1. They did beat Geelong, but Geelong were in that average period of form. They beat the Giants just by 10 points, so it was a close game. Giants sit in the bottom 8. They only beat North Melbourne by 23. And then losses to Adelaide, St Kilda, a big win over West Coast, that we know where they are, and then now a loss to Brisbane. So they, in our eyes, they haven't really beaten anyone as of yet. Dunkley did a super job shutting down Cripps. Walsh got his. Doherty and Chera. Chera's been in really good form of late. Also, Jared Berry through the guts for Brisbane has been super as well. But it's that forward line of Brisbane that's super dangerous at the moment, and unsure if there's 6 defenders in the competition that can hold all 6 of them at bay at any one time. Saturday's games, so we had Richmond versus West Coast. West Coast were actually up halfway through the third quarter. Also got back up, but then Richmond just sort of dominated from there and kicked, only 1 goal to a total of 8 goals. So 1 goal to 8 goals in that last, you could say, 45 minutes of play there. Nothing too much else to take away. Another big loss to West Coast. They head back home this week. And Richmond, it's good to see them on the board once again from only a win and a draw earlier in the season. Next game was Geelong versus Adelaide. So Geelong winning 98-72 down at GMHBA Stadium in Geelong. Adelaide were good, but not good enough. But they kept in the fight. The Cats only winning by 26, obviously. That is what it is. The Cats didn't convert well, 14-14. Dangerfield with a hamstring injury as well. But the usual guys played well for Geelong. And they were able to keep Roy Laird at bay. That is Geelong, which sort of kept him out of the game. Jordan Dawson was good again. Gold Coast versus Melbourne. So Melbourne were able to get the win in the end by 5 points without the Suns having the opportunity late. But the Suns were able to keep in it, and they were super impressive at home. We spoke earlier in the season, if they can make these home games they have almost like a fortress, or teams coming into them, they can get the wins. It'll go a long way to them playing finals this season. Noah Anderson without Touk Miller once again was impressive, 37 and a goal. McPherson off the back flank, 30 touches. Swallow 25, Powell also off the back flank 25, Fiorini, one to watch for us being in that midfield rotation now. Oliver and Petrarca 25 plus each. Brayshaw and Hunter were also impressive. Then up forward, Rosas kicked 4 as a small forward. Big Benny King well again, and Chol and Casbolt also chipped in with 2 each. So those big forwards for Gold Coast played well against the good backmen that Melbourne do have. Next game of the evening, GWS continue their unbeaten run. GWS continue their losing streak down in Canberra, with the Dogs winning 86-71 on Saturday night. In this one, it was a real battle. I mean, GWS came into this one without Toby Green, so it was always going to be a tough battle. But Tom Green and Josh Kelly performed in the midfield, 38 and 34 apiece. Bailey Smith and Marcus Bontempelli, 32 apiece. Whitfield off the back flank, 31. But this one obviously just ended up being the Western Bulldogs show, with them kicking away late. They pretty much led since Roy Lobb's goal in the first quarter right the way through. So the Dogs did get out to a fairly big margin, about 33 points at just before 3/4 time. And then, the Giants did kick back into it, the 5 goals in the fourth, but it wasn't enough to come back against the Dogs. GWS have kept a lot of games close this season as a good mention there. Next game for Saturday night was Freo beating Hawthorn 117-48. A big win by the Dockers, and it was needed. Their biggest score, I believe, under Justin Longmuir for about 3-4 years since he's been at the helm. And obviously it came against the Hawks and at home. So is this them bouncing back into form? Yet to see, but we'll see how they go this week. For the Hawks, it's just another one of those games. Fun start of the Hawks there. It was the first game they played without a premiership player since I think back in 2007. So quite interesting start there for the Hawks, but they're obviously in a rebuilding phase as of now. It was also good seeing Andrew Brayshaw hit the scoreboard as well as get plenty of the ball as well. Sunday's games, Port Adelaide versus Essendon, one game we did get to watch. The power did not kick straight at all. 12-20, and they had us pretty worried, not going to lie, throughout. And then Essendon 13-9, 92-87. A game the power should have won by a lot more. They controlled a lot of the possession, a lot of the footy in their half, but just couldn't get that big win. Essendon able to keep it throughout. Next game was Collingwood versus Sydney, another game we also got to watch, 77-48 Collingwood's way. Collingwood just kicked away in the fourth quarter. It's as simple as that. Sydney were able to keep it tight and contested for 3 quarters, but then Collingwood just flexed their muscles late in that fourth quarter like they have done across the last 2 years as well. Last game of the round was St Kilda defeating North 64-34. This game was something like 27-7 at halftime, 4-10 for North, 8-16 for St Kilda. Under the roof at Marvel, unable to kick straight, which there's no real excuse for because there's no wind and no factors in there. That's just poor kicking. Zeeble off the back flank, 36. Sheasel, 30. Wilkie at centre half back with 28 as well. Quite a few impressive performers there. Larkey up for 3 goals. Higgins, Butler, Wood, or Higgins and Butler 2 apiece. And then a couple of single goal kickers there. But nothing too much to take away from that game. Looking back, at our round 8 picks. So on the Friday night, we had the Raiders, Broncos and Lions plus 11.5 for 303. That one came out in the email with the AFL. We also had on the Friday night, the Lions head-to-head for $2, 3 units. Then also the Lions minus 9.5 and over 173.5 for $4. So a bit more value in that one with the over-under and obviously the Lions in there. That one obviously just hitting with 174 points, total points as well. Then Saturday we had a Saturday multi that just missed. Richmond, Geelong, Melbourne all getting up. Penrith getting up, then Cronulla losing it for us. 301 for 2 units on that one. But then we had Geelong 25 plus over 161.5, 250, 2 units on that one. Then Petrarca, Anderson 25 plus with Fiorini 20 plus, 320 there, a unit on that one. The Giants plus 21.5 with Caniglio and McRae at 25 apiece. That was paying $3 for 2 units on that one. Pretty confident in that one. The Giants covering the line there. And then our big sort of multi that I guess lifted out of units for the day. Was the same game multi, paying $10.50, 1 unit on that one. Freo versus Hawthorn, 20 plus, Brayshaw, Day, Sicily, Newcomb. And then Clark, O'Meara, Ward, Morrison, 15 plus, and then 1 plus goal. Walters, Schultz, Amos, and Jackson. Newcomb hit his 20 plus in the last 30 seconds as well, so a lucky one there. And then Sunday's games, you had Port Adelaide versus Essendon. Port Adelaide head-to-head over 161.5, $2 and 2 units on that one. Quick update on the ladder. So looking at Collingwood up top, Melbourne second, St Kilda third, Brisbane fourth. Brisbane, Port Adelaide and Geelong have had 5 wins straight apiece. Down the other end, Hawthorn are now bottom of the ladder in 18th, West Coast North, Richmond 15th, Gold Coast 14th. But obviously a couple of good wins there and potentially another good win this week against the Eagles, lifting a bit of percentage as well as their putting them to 4-5. 3 teams lost 5 in a row, North, West Coast and Hawthorn there. And then other teams have had a mixed fixture. Collingwood have won their last 4, Melbourne have won their last 3, and also the Doggies have won their last 3 as well. Collingwood will have GWS this week. Melbourne will have Hawthorn, St Kilda will have Adelaide. So St Kilda and Adelaide, that's the interesting one there. Brizzy, Essendon, but Brizzy at home. But sort of looking at the round 9 preview and stats to go along with that now. So Friday night's games, there's actually 2 games on Friday night. We've got Richmond versus Geelong at the NCG. Lineups yet to be announced. Last season, round 15, Geelong beat Richmond 89-86 in a close affair. And then the season prior, they played off twice, Geelong winning 95-57 in round 19, and then Geelong winning a big one in May in round 8, 126-63. We see something like that being this season as well. Couple of stats to have a look at. So Tigers, 78 plus points in 4 of the last 5 games, have been able to score. Geelong, they've won their last 5 games by 25 plus points. Also have had 127 plus points in 4 of the last 5, 167 total points in 7 of the last 8. And each of Geelong's last 6 matches at the MCG have gone overs. And Geelong has covered the line in their last 3 matches versus the Tigers as well. A couple of disposal and goal getters. Taranto, 25 plus in all 8 games, 30 plus in his last 4. Rioli, 20 plus in all 8 games this season. Hopper, 20 plus disposals in his last 6 games. Ryan, 1 plus goal in his last 5 games. And on the other side for Geelong, Stewart, 20 plus in his last 6. Jeremy Cameron, 15 plus in all 8 games. Atkins, 15 plus in his last 4. And Jeremy Cameron, 3 plus goals in his last 7 games as well, leading the Coleman at the moment. I guess some insights on this one. Richmond still down on troops at the moment and down on form. The weather looks fine. I expect Geelong to kick a big score against Richmond. Richmond will kick a score as well. Total points over in this one, even though it being a Friday night game, and it might be a bit slippery with the chill in the air in Melbourne. It looks to be nice, but it's going to be about also 15 degrees, sorry. So it's actually going to be quite a nice evening in Melbourne. I expect both teams to kick a score and a bit of attacking play from both sides in this one, and the usual suspects taking a hold of the game. The next game on the Friday night is West Coast versus Gold Coast. A late one, 8:40 at Optus, which is 6:40 over there in Perth. Obviously, the Eagles, they've allowed 100 plus points in their last 6 games, and they've also lost their last 6 games by 40 plus. The Suns, 72 plus points in 6 of their last 7 games. West Coast have obviously lost 15 of the last 16 games. Their last 6 matches each of the last 6 matches at Optus Stadium have gone over. And then Gold Coast has covered the line in 4 of the last 5 matches versus the Eagles. Looking at some previous matchups, 107-104 last season in round 20. Gold Coast got the win. 107-80 in round 1 last season. Gold Coast once again got the win. That was over in Perth. And then the Eagles won round 1 in 2021, 83-58, but obviously 2 very different sides to then and now. Some stats. So Kelly, that's Tim Kelly, 25 plus in 6 of his 7 games. Sheed, 20 plus in his last 4 games. And then Jones, 15 plus his last 5. Hunt, 15 plus in all 8 games. Allen, 2 plus goals in all 8 games. One of only 2 people this season to do that. The other one being Jeremy Cameron. Darling, 1 plus goal in 6 of 8 games. And then on the other side, Anderson, 25 plus in his last 5 games. Obviously without Middle at the moment. Will Powell off the back line, 20 plus in his last 3 games. Fioriti, 20 plus in his last 3 games. Big King down forward, 1 plus goal in all 7 games and 2 plus goals in his last 4 games. And Holman, I'm not sure if he's back with injury as of yet, 1 plus goal in his last 4 games as well. Insights in this one, should be a good Gold Coast win. As we mentioned with the ladder, they need a good and a big win to lift them back up into potential top 8 contention. They sit 14th at the moment, but on 3-5, tied with 11th with the Sydney Swans. Essentially, it's just their percentage at the moment that's killing them. But if they can get a big win against the Eagles and potentially, if lift that up past 100% there and put them in contention for that top 8 position when those easier games come around. Saturday's lineup of games. We've got Sydney versus Fremantle is the first one of the day. The Swans, they've lost 5 of their last 6 games. Also allowed 77 plus points in their last 4 games. And the Dockers, they've allowed 90 plus points in 4 of the last 5 games. Sydney's weather for this one looks to be a bit drizzly with scattered showers on the Saturday. That is in the morning, potentially clearing up by midday when this game is on. Nevertheless, the last sort of matchups have gone Sydney's way. Sydney winning 82-65 in Perth in round 18 last year. And then 2021, they played off twice. Sydney winning at home 98-58. And then the Freo Dockers winning 86-84 in round 10 and round 19. Some stats for this one. So Warner, 25 plus in 4 of his last 5 games. Seems to be the most consistent midfielder in that Swans group. Parker, 20 plus in his last 4. Fox, who come back last game, 15 plus in his last 4 games. Papley, 1 plus goal in all 8 games as well. For the Dockers, Clark 15 plus in all 8 games. O'Meara also 15 plus in all 8 games. Amos and Jackson 1 plus goal in their last 6 games as well. Insights for this one, this should be a Sydney win. They need the win, I guess, against these teams. But the Dockers have shown a bit of bounce back against the Hawks last week. But ultimately, travel across from Perth to Sydney is about a 5-hour trip. The Dockers did play Saturday in Perth. And Sydney did play Sunday. So there's a 6-day turnaround compared to a 7-day turnaround. But the travel involved pretty much equals both sides out. And we'll be interested to see who comes back for Sydney in this one. But it could be something like a Dockers plus line. But then Sydney have also won a lot of their a lot of games this season by big margins. So it'll be a matter of what teams come out and who's healthy and who's playing. But Sydney should get a comfortable win in this one. The next game on the fixture is North Melbourne versus Port Adelaide. So this is going to be down in Hobart at Blundstone Arena. Port have won the last 2 games by big margins, 115-46 last season in round 9. That one was at North Melbourne's home ground, and they did play at Blundstone Arena, so it was a big matchup, a big win for Port down there. In the season prior, they played at Marvel, also 117-65. So 2 big wins against North in their last 2 matchups. That is Port Adelaide, and hopefully they can kick straight, unlike St Kilda this week, and unlike them last week. North, they've lost their last 6 games. They've allowed 97 plus points in 4 of the last 5 games. And the Power, they've won their last 5 games. So it all stems to a Power big win here. And we'll also have a bit more of a look into, for our members and subscribers, what North's record is at Blundstone Arena of late. In terms of stats, LDU 20 plus in his last 6 games. Tucker 15 plus in his last 5 games. Larkey 1 plus goal in 7 of his last 8 games, 7 of 8 games. Butters 25 plus in his last 5 games. He looks really good at the moment. Houston 15 plus in all 8 games, but 20 plus in his last 4. Boat 20 plus in his last 3 games. Marshall 1 plus goal in 6 of his last 7 games. And Powell Pepper 1 plus goal in his last 6 games as well. But as we've already discussed, a big win for the Power there, and quite a few even spread of goal kickers we see for Port Adelaide. Next game on the fixture is Hawthorn vs Melbourne at the MCG. Hawks obviously coming off that big loss, but they did play last season in round 7, 91-81 to Melbourne. And then the season prior actually drew 79-79, and then that was in round 18, and round 5 in 2021, 104-54, the Demons' way. As already mentioned, the Demons coming off 3 straight wins, big win against North, but then obviously the Hawks coming off that big loss against Freo last week at Perth. And they've lost 7 of their 8 games, allowed 77 plus points in 7 of 8 games. The Demons, they've scored 90 plus points in 6 of 8 games, but also allowed 78 plus points in 5 of 7 games. So total points over in this one looks good. Having a look at the weather, it's supposed to be quite a nice day, just a bit of cloud in the air in Melbourne, so it's a late afternoon game, so expect some points to be scored in this matchup as well, with the weather being nice. This one should be a big Melbourne win though. Looking at some stats for both sides, Nash 25 plus in his last 4 games. And to note, obviously, Anderson and Fiorini both had big games against the Demon midfield, so that could be a good bet there. Nash, Day, Warple, Morrison, so Day 20 plus in his last 6 games, sorry. I know it's his 6 games that he's played. Warple 20 plus in his last 4, Morrison 15 plus in his last 6 games. Hunter 20 plus in his last 7 games. Chandler 1 plus goal in all 8 games. Neil Bullen also 1 plus goal in all 8 games. Van Rooyen, who isn't playing this week because of suspension, he's had 1 plus goal in his 6 games as well. But we see a big Melbourne win in this one. Next game on the fixture is Brisbane versus Essendon. The Brisbane weather, I should know as I live up here. Saturday, actually a bit of rain projected. So scattered showers in the morning and then clearing up in the afternoon. This game will obviously be at night at the Gabba. Total points, I would be leaving alone in this one, only because nighttime games at the Gabba get quite dewy. And if there is rain throughout the day, it means it might be wet weather type football. We like the Lions to win and win well in this one. They played off last season in round 17, and Essendon actually got the win 100-90. In the season prior, they played down in Melbourne 97-75. The Lions got a win. And then the season prior, 2021 round 5, 102 to 45, Brisbane's way. So it's been quite up and down. Obviously, Essendon winning the matchup last year, but we see Brisbane getting a good win in this one. They have won 5 in the trot, looking to make it 6. Essendon will be coming and firing, though, wanting to get the win after a few losses in a row. Some stats in this one, it all points to total points over/under. But as said, with those dewy conditions, we'll be staying away from it. Lockie Neal, 20 plus in all 8 games. Dunkley, 20 plus in his last 7 games. McCluggage, 20 plus in his last 5 games. Hipwood, 1 plus goal in his last 6 games. Gunston and Bailey, 1 plus goal in their last 3 games, as well as McCarthy, 1 plus goal in his last 3 games. For Essendon, Parrish, 30 plus disposals in 7 of his last 8. Merritt, 25 plus in 6 of his last 7. McGrath, 20 plus in 7 of 8 games. Stringer, 1 plus goal in his last 6 games. Next game on the night, for that one, obviously we're looking at Brisbane head-to-head, as well as a few disposal getters for both sides, being a bit of dewy conditions. But we expect to see some goals from Brisbane and a handy win. Next game on the cards is Carlton versus the Western Bulldogs at Marvel. Probably the most interesting game of the round from our perspective. Carlton won the last matchup last season in round 2, 102 to 90. The Dogs won the season prior, 107 to 91. And then Carlton won the season prior, 103 to 51. So the form guide for both sides is up and down. The Blues, they've allowed 80 plus points in 5 of their last 7 games, but 180 total points or less than 6 of the last 8 games, 6 of 8 games. The Dogs, they've won their last 3 games and 86 plus points in 4 of the last 5 games. So the Dogs look to score in this one, especially at Marvel, as we saw last Friday between Carlton and Brisbane. It can be potentially a shootout. And we're looking at the Doggies in this one. If they've got full health and them being dominant at the moment and they can find the scores they need to find, they should be able to dominate the Blues. Obviously, the Blues, as we've already mentioned earlier on the piece, they're yet to beat anyone as of yet, and this would be a scalp they would be looking to take, but I think the Doggies win this one. A few stats: Walsh, 25 plus in his 4 games. Akers, 20 plus disposals in his last 6 games. Hewitt, 20 plus in his last 3. Durden, a goal in each of his 7 games. Daniel for the Dogs, 20 plus disposals in his last 4 games. Richards, 15 plus in all 8 games. Norton, 1 plus goal in 8 games. Lobb, a goal in 5 of his last 6 games. Moving to Sunday's card, so we've got Adelaide versus St Kilda over there at Adelaide Oval. The weather is looking like it's going to be nice on Sunday, so partly cloudy, but should be good weather at Adelaide Oval. The last few matchups between the sides, St Kilda won last season around 10-90 to 69, but the Crows didn't kick straight enough. They had 24 scoring shots to 20. So an interesting bit of a stat there. The Crows won the season prior 66 to 60 at Marvel, and then the Saints won the season prior 78 to 55. We like Adelaide in this one. Just their attacking brand of football on Adelaide Oval, compared to St Kilda, who struggled to score last week against North Melbourne under the roof at Marvel. That's our big worry there. They also struggled to sometimes defend the big forward Larkey up there. Compared to, Fogarty and Walker, and then you got the small forwards doing their work. The Crows have won 4 of their last 6 games, 72 plus points in 7 of 8 games, 170 plus total points in 6 of 8 games. St Kilda, they've won 6 of 8 games and all 6 wins by 15 plus points. But as we mentioned, we like the Crows in this matchup. A few stats there: Sligo, 20 plus disposals in his last 3 games. Smith, 15 plus in all 8 games. Rankin and Pedler, so Rankin 1 plus goal in all games, and Pedler 1 plus goal in his last 5 games. Clark, 20 plus disposals in his last 7. Marshall, 15 plus disposals in all 8 games out of the ruck. Wanganeen, Malera, 15 plus disposals in all 8 games. Stocker, 15 plus in all 8 games. Higgins, 1 plus goal in his last 6 games. Last game of the round, Collingwood versus GWS at the MCG. Unsure about Toby Green as of yet. Some matchups between these sides: 88 to 77 last season in round 15, so a close matchup. The season, round 1, that was in the pre-season, so don't count that one. The season prior in 2021, round 4, GWS beat Collingwood at the MCG 90 to 60. The Pies, they're 7 wins from 8 games, 6 of 7 wins by 1 to 39. The Giants, they've allowed 74 plus points in all 8 games, 86 plus points in 6 of 8 games. but they're also scoring 70 plus points in 7 of 8 games, and Giants all games within 1 to 24. So expect a close matchup in this one. The weather in Melbourne on the Sunday is looking beautiful and sunny, 20 degrees in the afternoon. It'll be quite a nice day. So there could be some points scored in this one. Unlike the last couple of weeks for Collingwood, they've had some sort of wet weather type football where they've had to adapt to the conditions. But if it's fine and dry, expect them to look to attack the Giants through the corridor and etc. Some stats in this one: Dacos, Nick, that is 25 plus in all 8 games. Mitchell, 20 plus in all 8 games. Pendlebury, 20 plus in all 7 games he's played. Sidebottom, 20 plus disposals in his last 4 games. Noble, 15 plus in all 8 games. Ash Johnson up for 1 plus goal in his 6 games. Caniglio, 25 plus in all 8 games. Whitfield, 20 plus in his last 6 games. Haynes, 15 plus in all 8 games. And Jesse Hogan, 16 goals in 8 games this season. 2 plus goals, I think, in 5 of his last 6 as well. But that is the preview for round 9. So just going over it quickly, our sort of favourites in this one. So Geelong on the Friday night, Gold Coast Friday night, Sydney Saturday, Port Adelaide a big win, Melbourne, Brisbane at home, but expect Essendon to potentially want to keep it tight. The Western Bulldogs there, our underdog of the round, I think they're underdog. The Adelaide Crows to beat St Kilda. Collingwood versus GWS, but Collingwood in a close one there. Potentially the Giants plus line as well. But we like Collingwood 1 to 39. Round 9 best bets. So looking at round 9, the Cats, they've won their last 5 games by 25 plus points. The Eagles, they've lost their last 6 games. The Dockers, they've lost their last 6 games in New South Wales. The Lions, they've won their last 5 games. And the Pies, they've won 15 of their last 16 games at the MCG. So combining that together, so Geelong, Gold Coast, Sydney, Brisbane and Collingwood, $4.97 for a 5-leg weekend multi for round 9. Friday stats that we like, so Stewart 20 plus in his last 6 games, Hopper 20 plus in his last 6 games, Oliver Henry 1 plus goal in 7 of 8 games, Anderson 25 plus disposal in his last 5 games, Kelly 25 plus in 6 of 7 games, King 1 plus goal in all 7 games. Combining those 6 together, so 3 legs across each game on the Friday, 334 there. For Saturday, so we've got 2 separate ones here. We've got a goals one and a disposals one. Can combine that together as well. Papley 1 plus goal in all 8 games. Powell-Pepper 1 plus goal in his last 6 games. Chandler 1 plus goal in all games. Stringer 1 plus goal in his last 6. Durden 1 plus goal in his 7 games. 245 for a 5-leg Saturday multi there. Goal scorers, that is. Clark 15 plus in all 8 games. Houston 20 plus in his last 4 games. Day 20 plus in his last 6 games. Dunkley 20 plus in his last 7 games, and Walsh 25 plus in his last 4 games, or his 4 games. 259 there for a 5-leg disposals multi for Saturday. And last but not least, the 2 games on the Sunday. Smith 15 plus in all 8 games, that's for Adelaide. Marshall 15 plus in all 8 games, that's for St Kilda. Rankin 1 plus goal in all 8 games. So a 3-leg multi there, combined with Pendlebury 20 plus in all 7 games, Caniglio 25 plus in all 8 games, and Johnson 1 plus goal in his 6 games. 315 on Sportsbet. They're our best bets of the week. We're obviously going to have them on TikTok and Instagram Reels as well, so look out for them. But that is all for this week. Thank you for listening in. As always, feel free to go like, follow, and subscribe on all platforms. And if you have any questions for the weekend of AFL, please let us know. Thank you.